Welcome to another PUBG's guide. I am Guns, and today we're going to talk about predicting circle movement. So the first thing you should know is that you can't. Yeah, that's right, you can't predict circle movement. And I use this term predict here because predicting means you're creating an educated guess based on information. The fact of the matter is, you have no information about the circle or what direction it's going to move in. With the circle, you're more or less playing roulette. A circle has 360 degrees. Each time the circle collapses, it's cut in half. This isn't an exact science. This isn't exact math either, what I'm about to tell you. It's a pretty shrewd version of a formula to predict circle movement, but again, there are variables inside this formula, so it's not exactly a concrete answer every time. Because as we discovered in previous videos, no one enjoys my paint drawings or explanations, so we're going to try to forgo as many of them as possible and make this simple. Roughly, the degrees of distance are cut in half in the circle every time it shrinks. Now, I say degrees of distance because every circle has 360 degrees. That's a mathematical constant you can't get around. However, the total area coverage is usually chopped into half, meaning there's less distance for you to fight in. The best game plan is to always stay ahead of the circle, especially later on in the game. Now, predicting the circle you can't do, but staying ahead of the circle and following your play style is what's going to help you more than anything, along with a few tips of where circles usually like to end, which we'll start with, and then we're actually going to talk about play styles to help you combat circle movement. As far as where to go to ensure you're always in the circle, the center of the circle is your best bet. About 30% of the positions are on the edge of the current circle, all of which include the center. The other 70% of the positions are options in the circle that still also include the center. Now, every part of the circle is predetermined. We know this because at one point there was a script that would tell you the exact center of the final circle at the start of the game. Obviously, BattleEye patched that to compensate for this, and it was dealt with in less than a week, but the algorithm was not changed. It didn't need to be. It worked. Now, if you ask me, PlayerUnknown is a guy that likes patterns, and every final circle I've ever been in tends to be a fairly open area, except in a few instances. One was Pachinki, the other one was mines north of Primorsky. The final circle tends to be in open areas and avoiding landmarks. That's not to say it can't be on them. Now, I'm fairly certain the pattern is completely random, but random with a pattern, if that makes sense, which it doesn't. The fact that it usually ends up in an open field usually is just because 70 to 80% of the map is open field. You need to learn to play in the space of open field. And now that we're all on the same type of foliage, it just looks prettier or not, depending on which graphic settings you are. Hiding in the grass is a pretty legit strat depending on where you're at. The biggest understanding about moving around in circles is understanding vision of another player to you and if they can see you or not. Vision is a huge part of this. With all that being said, there is very little I can teach you about circle movement and predicting it. The best thing to teach you, as I said before, is combating circle position by solidifying your playstyle. There are three main types to go with and a few sub-archetypes of these types of playstyles. Riding the wall, running around somewhere in between, or camping in the center. Yes, it's a legit strategy, stop whining about it. Now, riding the circle is dangerous because there tend to be multiple people that do this. There also tend to be people that hold edges waiting for people to run into the new circle. You're easy kills when this happens, already taking damage, trying to get to a safe position quickly. If you're going to ride the circle, you need a vehicle. This makes sure you don't get caught out. A vehicle of any type is your strongest weapon as a circle rider. It allows you to move quickly and keep your area clear. That's the other part of being a circle rider. Create a small space you're safe in. This means eliminating enemies near you. The main reason for this is to allow yourself to push up safely without having to watch your back constantly. That being said, you still need to occasionally look behind you. Those are the big talking points of playing as a rider. Circle riders are some of the most dangerous players. They're always running into fights. They need very little equipment to stay alive, and they tend to fight on their own terms as they're the one approaching their enemies, and often get most of their gear from killing other players and taking it from them. They come up right behind you when you least expect it. You're comfy inside the circle in your position. They push that position and kick you out of your house. They tend to be efficient at it, and it's one of my favorite playstyles. Now the second, less efficient playstyle, which I have very little to say on, is running in the middle. And it just basically constitutes always being inside the circle, running well ahead of the circle, but not in the center, always moving towards it, not getting there. Now, this is dangerous, but it's safe at the same time. This tends to be a barren land. Most people camp in the center or hide the circle, meaning they're usually not near you till towards the end. And when you start to get into those smaller circles, you're going to run into the position of possibly being pushed from both sides, people in the center and people on the edge of the circle. That's when it becomes dangerous. By about the third circle is when it's really dangerous. It's a 50-50 split, you're always guessing. Sometimes you get caught moving, sometimes you catch other people moving, sometimes you're caught in the middle between circle riders and center campers. It's a dangerous type of play style that I often don't utilize because it's the most dangerous. Really only try to use it when it's necessary based on judgment calls. They are somewhat similar to circle riders in that they get their gear by ambushing other people. Problem is they're often ambushed by other players as well. Circle riders, not so much. Now, lastly, the most powerful and safe type of play is obviously center campers. Often the most disliked type of players because they often end runs, moving from building to building, taking people out as they move up, staying safe inside their houses. Mostly geared off looting houses and mostly the most geared type of player. Well-versed center campers are hard to flush out of the houses they sit in. They know the choke points and they know the best houses to hold. Trying to fight them at their own game's not a smart decision. There's only one weakness to their playstyle. They eventually have to move houses. This often leads to them running out in the open through a field, taking the next direct path to the next best position. That's really their only vulnerable time. Now, often, circle campers tend to go to the same house, especially on barren fields, so sometimes you get them taking each other out, which is always a win-win for everybody, especially if you're camping out in the middle of a field as opposed to inside a house. The fact of the matter is, the entire game is a waiting game. The less people that you have to kill, the better off you are, the less attention you drive to yourself. Kill enough people to gear yourself to win the fights that you have to move to the next position. Other players killing each other off is always a win-win for you. Someone's dead, someone's damaged. Take advantage of the situation. Now, most people that are center campers aren't actually great at fighting. They're good at picking off targets, easy shots, running through fields. They're not a major concern when it comes to an actual firefight, and they're often the people that you push over when they have to hold a position. They forget a thing or two about their cover, they're not checking the right directions, they don't expect flanks from the side or behind. They always feel as if they're safe inside their house with four walls. But there's another type of center camper. They're the scary players. The really, really scary type of players that are the ones you can't fight. They're the ones that chase you down. They're the ones that fight through anything. But they just choose to hide in the middle and wait, because it's easier for them. They're kind of like the panther hiding in the bushes. These types of players are the alpha of campers. They're the ones you want to avoid and try to let somebody take out. They're the ones that win games. They're the ones that will jump out of their house, chase you down, end you, take your shit, and keep moving. Everybody wants to be this player. In a match of 100 people, though, you're more than likely only going to get 2 of them. So how do you become this type of player? You ride the circle. You run in the middle. Till you are effective at taking fights from every direction, quickly identifying targets and moving to reasonable cover, till your shot is on point every time, till you're able to make good judgment calls based on when people are vulnerable or not. This type of player comes from being knowledgeable in all different methods of madness to this game. These types of players drop on school, kill everyone with a pistol, and walk out with everything. It's good to find a type of play style that suits you, but eventually you need to start venturing out of your comfort zone. It's the only way you get better. Some people say, that's a dumb decision running out in the middle of the field like that. No, you're right, yes it is a dumb decision. But when you have the reflexes and the ability to identify where shots are coming from, identify somebody's head peeking out on a hill, shooting at you from 300 meters away, and you have the shooting ability to whip around and nail them in the head, suddenly running in the field doesn't feel all that dangerous. That being said, that's a really dumb strategy, and you should just never run in an open field if you can avoid it. Just saying. Now, knowing what playstyle you're comfortable with, and which one you learn the best with, will help you win games for a short amount of time until you reach this plateau of player skill level, where your most comfortable playstyle no longer wins you games because you're now playing with people that are comfortable with their playstyle. The only thing that's going to start winning you games again is understanding how they play, how you play, and how you should change how you play against them to win. This is what leads you to being the alpha type of camper, the alpha type of player. You can go anywhere, you can do anything you want, and you don't have to worry about what's behind you. Although you should still look behind you. The biggest thing about this game is that it comes to your judgment. Things can still happen. You can still get unlucky. There's some things you just have to accept. There are things you can do to minimize risk, but even the best risk minimization can still lead to one lucky bastard hiding behind a rock with a silenced AK. That's it for this guide, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it helps you win games. If you want to support the channel, like the video and subscribe for more PUBG's content. You can support the channel directly over at patreon.com/3gunsdown, clickable on screen now on a monthly basis, and you can get raw footage of us playing pubs. If you'd like to watch it firsthand and come and chat with me, you can check me out over at twitch.tv/gunsgames, where we play a plethora of things, not just pubs. This is one of those things that I feel will help you become other players, and it's more or less a message that these are the predictable types of players and play styles. Really, you're never going to predict the circle. You just need to start predicting the people, and that way you're safe inside the circle. Awareness, alertness, and judgment. Your three most powerful tools, aside from shooting people in the face with whatever weapon you have. Your fourth most powerful tool. I'm Guns. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. GG. Good luck out there.